I'm glad that you're with Dawn Purdum and I, Veronica Schultz, aka the Soul Whisperer, and we are going to be talking about communication today, and I just want you to kind of just move on in, scoot on in and into our little circle and just listen to what we've got to chat about. I had something happen to me this morning that would be a perfect scenario to kind of discuss with you, because this type of thing is not just isolated in my case. This happens to everybody. Now, for the last 2 weeks, I have not been at the top of my game, and communication, interacting with people is always easier when you're at the top of your game, right?
Yeah, I think probably as a general rule of thumb, that's true. You never perform at the level that you want to unless you feel good about things, unless you feel good about yourself, or unless you have figured out a way emotionally to work past how you feel so that you can perform at the level you need to.
Yes, I have reached that point, but for the last 2 weeks, I have been pulling my hair out because I actually feel like, what is happening to me? Am I regressing? Have I lost my footing? It kind of feels like labor. You 2 pushes forward and I feel like 5 pushes back. I feel like I've just fallen off my horse. And I've gotten some, because of this though, I've reached out to some people that I really trust, and I've talked to them, and I've gotten some really great insight, and that's helped me a lot. But can I share with you kind of what happened this morning? And
sure, I'd love to hear it and love to chat with you.
Okay, so there's been a big change in our house, and I kind of don't want to go into detail because it really doesn't matter, but my son and my daughter were both talking about this change, and my daughter gets this look on her face, and while my son is talking, and this look made me uncomfortable, and I saw my son become uncomfortable, and then he just appeared to be talking out of feeling this discomfort. And so I made a statement, and this statement made my daughter look like a big ogre, and I was trying to put my son at ease, and I.
So you were trying to put one of your kids at ease, and they're adults, right?
Yeah, they are.
So you're putting one of your adult kids at ease, and in the process of doing that, you unintentionally put the other one in an awkward position where they're now not at ease.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
And so after the conversation was done, I was so impressed with my daughter and the way she handled it. She pulled me aside and she said, "Mom, what were you thinking when you made that statement?" And I immediately was gonna, just say something, but I stopped and I thought about it a moment, and I said, "Well, what are you thinking when you asked that question?" And so she told me. She said, "Well, you made me look like an ogre, and all I was doing was thinking about a bunch of different scenarios as my brother was talking. All these scenarios were going through my mind, and I was planning out which direction and which route would be the best for everyone involved. And the look just kind of came with it. I didn't intentionally mean the look."
Right.
And at that point, I realized what had happened. That look that she had on her face was the same type of look that I'd gotten as a child when I was ready to be in for it.
Mm.
And so I realized that not being at the top of my game and this sensitivity, it's almost like a tender spot, a tender scar that is still there, and I need to be aware of it and kind of work at that. What are your thoughts and insights on that, and how would you have handled that?
Well, I don't know that I would have handled it too much different, to be frank. I think that we all go through scenarios, situations, moments in our lives when like you said, we're just not at the top of our game. Maybe we're emotionally tired, we're physically tired, we're spiritually exhausted. There's something that, we're going through a process of working through something ourselves, and that's normal for all of us. None of us escape that. It's just a natural tension that we all have. So what I have learned is that when I unintentionally do something that communicates something I don't mean to communicate, I need to find out, where did that come from? Many times for me, it's an insecurity that came screaming out. I said something that, you sense it as it's coming out of your mouth, right? As it's kind of going,
Yeah, right.
like, oh, no, come back. But it doesn't do that. It just, once it escapes, it's out, and damage is done, for a lack of a better expression. So I think the good part of communication is when you obviously have a very close relationship with your daughter, because she didn't respond to it in the moment. She kind of let it pass and then chatted with you after the fact.
Isn't
Now,
that
that's
amazing?
probably not normal. Most people are going to lash back out in the moment. And I would say, as the person who let it out, that's an immediate opportunity to say, I'm sorry. That came out all wrong. That's really, I'm just sorry. So what can I do to make it right? And then I think that as you sit down and work it through with that other person, you don't have to give a litany of excuses or reasons or justifications for why you said it. Just usually simply it's enough to say, I'm sorry, I'll never do that again. I
Yeah,
love you, I care about you, or I affirm you, or I appreciate you, and move on. Because the fact is that we all have slip-ups. And those slip-ups have very, very little to do with the people that we're interacting with. It almost always has something to do with me.
absolutely. As I found with me this morning, and those that was just really great insight, Don. Really appreciate being able to talk to you. As I share my personal experiences, and I share them with people of your caliber, I am bound to be blessed, just because we all grow by learning different techniques and different perspectives, and so that was amazing, and I did apologize. I apologized to them both. I apologized to my son for making my daughter look that way, and I apologized to my daughter for that. And then all three of us had a heart to heart on where I am at the moment and why it came.
Well, there might be another question that even needs to be asked.
Well, what's that?
Well, your daughter had a reaction to something that she said, and there's something in her. See, here's the truth about communication. It's really not about what somebody says to you. It's how you choose to react to it. That's the key. So if your daughter felt that there was something going on in the communication that said, you're making me look like an ogre, where is that coming from for her? Because it was not your intention for her to feel that way. It wasn't for any reason other than trying to help your son feel more comfortable with the conversation. So your daughter felt put in a compromised position for one reason or another. And it's really important for her then, and maybe for you, to go back with her and say, you know what, I love you and I'd like to work through with you. Why did you feel that way? What was there? Because there's an insecurity in there that caused that to fester. There's something in there that came out. It didn't just come from nowhere. So I would want to explore for myself, and I do this with myself all the time. So when I say something stupid in front of my son, in front of his kids or whatever, or his buddies, because he's 17, I'll go back to him and apologize to him, and then I will do some self-reflection after we've talked to say, you know what? Why did I do that? Why did I allow that to come? What was in my mind or in my heart that allowed that to come out? So we all have them. None of us are immune from it. Every single one of us. And as we're improving on who we are as human beings, we have to find and dig for ourselves and discover for ourselves what insecurity drove that feeling. And how do I then go about resolving it?
Absolutely agree. And I haven't stopped long enough to think about. That's not true. I did. I thought about what happened with my daughter, but then I set it aside because I was still dealing with me. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
No,
So
and that question's not for you to ask her. That really is maybe at a later date and time, maybe an opportunity when if and when it comes up again, and you're both in an emotionally healthy place where you can actually reason that out together and think through, was there something that happened at a different place in time that maybe I contributed something to that allowed you to feel that way? Because she's responding to something. She just may not be aware of what it is. And again, all of us do it. None of us are immune from that because we're human, and our subconscious is cataloging and filing every single conversation, every single experience, and we're filtering through our motive questions, right? The two questions I love. I just love these questions because they're so true. You filter with these in every single decision you make, whether big or small. Even the words you choose to use, you're filtering.
okay, I'm excited. What
Number
two
one,
questions is that?
number one, what benefit do I have to gain?
Mm-hmm.
Number two, what loss am I trying to avoid?
Oh, those are powerful.
Every single decision that you make is filtered through those two questions at a subconscious level. Now, how you choose to respond to those two questions in any given moment is going to be informed by your programming. So if you've had negative experiences in a given situation, you may default to the pessimistic or negative question, which is, what do I have to lose? So if I have something to lose, I may pull back or hold back or not pursue something, or maybe I'll say something that maybe I shouldn't say, or feel something I shouldn't feel. Now the other side of it is that what benefit do I have to gain? That's just full-blown optimism, blow and go. It doesn't matter. Everything, the wind is at my back. Let's do it. So we're filtering those two all of the time, every decision that we make. And then it informs the behavior that comes out of us. Because now our attitudes are not just informed by those two questions, but they're formed by the experiences that we've had.
So let's tear this down just a little bit. Those two questions: what did I have to gain, and what was I avoiding to lose? Right?
Yeah, those are the two questions, and you filtered one of those two questions through your mind when that came out.
So not both, just
No,
one.
not both, just one. You chose one of two paths. Okay? So my guess is, based upon what you said to me, that that's got more to do with the fact that you were trying to comfort your son. You were trying to give him a sense of security, stability, and a reason to open up. You saw it as a positive, but whatever you said triggered a negative in her mind. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Absolutely.
So that's where communication gets so complex and it gets so tricky, because we can't gauge somebody else's motive. We don't know, as a general rule of thumb, which one of those two questions they were filtering when they chose to say what they say, do what they did, respond the way they did. Sometimes we don't know. The only thing that I'm responsible for knowing is how I choose to respond to what I heard. That's the key. So communication is not always so much about what the other person is saying or doing. It's about how I'm receiving it. So if I'm at a certain place in my maturity, I can handle certain things in a way that another person can't, because they don't have the experience, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the maturity to recognize how to go through a situation. And that's the challenge for all of us, is how do we teach and model for each other how to move and navigate through those waters.
Yes, absolutely. And what do you think the general people's biggest challenges when it comes to falling off that horse and having that experience that they didn't want to have?
Well, they don't know why they had it. They have no idea. Most, probably 90% of the population has no idea why they do the things they do, why they make the decisions they make, why do they respond in any given situation the way they responded, why do they feel a certain emotion at a certain time. They're not self-aware enough to know. Now, by itself, that's not that big of a deal. It's not a problem, but it's important if you really want to get to solving problems and understanding where root issues lay in complex relationships or in negotiations. And see, these principles hold true in business. These are not just relationships that apply to your spouse or relationships with your family and extended friends and all of that stuff. These are core principles that go all the way down to, if you're a salesperson, how are you connecting with and relating to your prospect that you want to buy from you? Because it's all about, do people know me, like me, and trust me? The first one's easy. The second two is much harder. Do they like me and do they trust me? And communication gets to those very two core issues. And it's true in our families too. So if I don't trust you, I'm not going to open up to you.
Right.
I'm not going to tell you what I'm thinking, and you're going to get an attitude problem from me. That doesn't mean I don't love you. It doesn't mean I don't want to have a relationship with you. It just means that I'm going to create a boundary that I'm not going to allow you to exceed. And when you cross that boundary, then I disengage and I'm out. But most of the people are not aware because we go through 12 years of schooling from kindergarten, or I guess 13 years, from kindergarten through 12th grade, right? We learn the English language. We have all these classes on English that teach us spelling and grammar and syntax and all of this stuff. We know the language, right? Some of us go on and we receive bachelor's degrees or associate's degrees, and even some of us move beyond that and we get postgraduate degrees at the master level or the PhD level even. And yet for all of that, we do not know fundamentally how to communicate.
Isn't that something?
Veronica, the reason why is it's a learned skill. It is a learned skill. It's something that you have to educate yourself on and work at. And if you don't do that, then you're always going to keep getting the same results you've always been getting in every relationship that you have. So this is why, if you have a relationship in a marriage and you choose to end the marriage, you might likely go into a second marriage. Did you know that the divorce rates for first-time marriages are about 50%? Did you know that the divorce rates for second marriages are almost 78%?
That's pretty high.
Do you know why?
Communication.
Communication. They never learned what the problems were that came out of the first one that contributed to it. Then you add emotional baggage on top of it, and it's doomed to fail before it ever starts.
You know, with my coaching clients, I can easily take somebody and help them to understand what happened in a particular situation. But then I like to go further and teach them how to resolve these types of issues themselves the next time it happens. And one of the ways that I learned to do that was by teaching myself. And I thought, as I was beginning to learn about communication, okay, so I learned God just sent people into my husband's and my life to teach us skill sets and certain things that really help both of us to understand how to communicate. And I remember thinking to myself, well, I'm able to teach other people how to do this, so how do I do that for myself? A coach or a friend isn't always available. I mean, think about it. If you're having a fight at 1 o'clock in the morning or something happened, you can't just pick up the phone and wake someone up unless you've got this really tight relationship. So I began to ask myself questions. I coached myself.
Sure.
How did I feel?
You know, I think this is a great topic for our next hangout on Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
This is a great topic for that. We're out of time.
Okay.
And I think that between now and then, if you happen to be watching the video, or if you've watched it between now and next Tuesday afternoon, then Jump on Facebook, private message me, private message Veronica, post on our Facebook walls. We're good with it, or at least I am.
Mm-hmm.
And let us know what are those things that you're struggling with in regards to this question. And we would be happy to work through with you how you can start to understand what's going on in the moment so that you can start immediately correcting the problem without having to wait until the next time you talk to someone like myself or Veronica or your therapist, counselor, whoever the case may be. Because the thing is, we want to teach you how to do that for yourself and recognize what's going on in the moment.
In the moment.
But that's going to take training and discipline, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that on Tuesday.
Well, thank you, Don. This was an awesome Google Hangout, and I appreciate being with you.
Likewise, Veronica. So thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you on Tuesday.
Bye.